So, hi all. In this session, we'll try to understand what is AWS, that is Amazon ECR. So, what exactly the ECR is all about, and why do we go with Amazon ECR, and what is the advantages of going with it, and we'll come across some demo too. Fine. So this is the agenda of the session, and we'll try to understand what exactly the ECR is all about, and why do we require it, and how it works, some advantages as disadvantages, and when to go with ECR, and we'll try to compare the ECR with any other similar tools or most commonly being used in place of ECR. Fine. Okay. So let us start with it. So what is ECR? So ECR is stands for Elastic Container Registry. So probably everybody know who are quite similar to the AWS why E stands for. So Elastic is nothing but it's completely fully managed by the AWS. So you can either upgrade or downgrade however you want. It's something like Elastic one. Okay, so if you have large amount of data, you can just expand it as it required like that. So and yet another one is container. So probably the DevOps engineers would be aware of this, what exactly the container. So containers are nothing but it's a packaged application kind of an image. Okay, so that requires that will be having the required dependencies as well as the source code. Okay, so registry is nothing but it's a kind of a book. Fine. So is an container image registry service designed specifically for seamless integration with AWS services. Fine. So specifically they have developed ECR, that is Elastic Container Registry, for specifically integration of AWS services. So that is the container registry process is there, right? So that can be easily integrated with AWS services, that is within the AWS environment. You cannot go and implement, or you cannot go and pull the image from outside the things. Fine. So it is widely used in cloud native architecture as well as DevOps workflow, where Docker containers. So that is I just mentioned, right? The DevOps engineer would be knowing this, what exactly the containers is all. So Docker containers. So similar, it's a similar tool. Instead of in common, we will be using the Docker container to store our packaged application images. Okay, so the image is nothing but like your operating system v1, right? Windows or Linux Ubuntu, we call it as an image. Why? So whenever we install in our system, so automatically we will be having this set of predefined softwares and some set of configuration which we don't do manual things. So once by clicking the install or the booting up the operating system, so everything will be ready to use like things, right? Same wise, even if you have your own project or the problem or the software, that can be converted into the image. How I will go and show, let you show you people in the demo session. Fine. So just try to understand that. So whole things can be made it into image just by pulling or by booting that image into your machine can run the application in the background. Okay, that is why we just use it. So whereas if you aren't using the Docker things, so we need to deploy everything manually, and we need to maintain the infrastructure, networking, security things, everything we need to require everything independently. So the advanced version of Docker containers is all about Kubernetes cluster. So even Kubernetes clusters having the pod, inside pod, we will be having the container. But here we have the more secure, and along with that we have some features like auto healing, load balancer, that is service, and the service mesh concept for integrated service, that is security, many things. Fine. So as of now, we'll try to understand. So we just hopefully you people have understood what exactly the ECR. ECR is nothing but Elastic Container Registry we make to store your packaged application image in this repository. Fine, that's it. Just try to understand the concept, very simple. Okay. So the ECR only restricting the cloud native architecture, but the container, it's a cloud native architecture as well as DevOps workflow. Fine. So why should we use ECR? Since so now we'll move on. So why exactly we want? So these things, the centralized image management will also impact not only the ECR, but it's also impacts on Docker containers too. Okay. So in Amazon, to store your images, they have ECR. When it comes to Docker, they have their own like a Docker hub. Okay, that's that's the major difference between the ECR as well as Docker. Okay, so centralized image management, like, so you have your software along with the dependencies. Fine, just I need to pull that and I need to run in my install. That is in machine. Okay, so likewise, I have my own set of problem statement which might required for other in future days, no, but may not today, but in future days. In that scenario, I have uploaded my image to my Docker hub. Okay, so if my image is in public, and that is, it is quite visible to all the people, it means they can just pull that image and they can make use of the application. Fine, like it's quite similar to the GitHub. So if you have your repository public, means anybody can able to access this, right? So if you have a project deployed, or if you have project stored in the GitHub and having the public repository, so anybody can able to access that. Just we go there and we pull the Docker, sorry, GitHub repository, right? Same thing here also. To store your packaged application as an image, we use ECR. That is what they are trying. So it's a centralized image management. So ECR act as a centralized repository for storing Docker container image. So if we are going and storing the things, that is your packaged application as an image format in this repository. Central repository means in whoever having the access to that repository, they can able to pull the image and they can run the application in their machine. Okay, so ensures that container image used across development, testing, and production environments are consistent. So they, what they are trying to do is, so you have uploaded, that is, you have built the Docker image. Okay, thereon, so the same image can be used for testing as well as production if it is qualified by the testing. So the developer can keep updating the images. We'll try to see that also. Fine. Next is security features. So the main thing. So if since it's a central managed image repository, so anybody can able to access who are having the access to that repository. So if it is public, means everyone can able to access. If it is private, we can just restrict the number of users who has the access to that. Okay, next is security features that comes into exist here. So encryption at rest, that is all images are encrypted using the AWS key management. So the AWS having their own key management, that is encryption algorithms. So that will be taken care by the AWS itself while you are pushing the image to the repository. And we can restrict the users also by providing the IAM permissions and registry scanning. That is options to scan container images for vulnerability. So some, like our Docker image, Docker have may not have the registry scanning, but here Amazon they are having the registry scanning. That is, it will always check for any vulnerabilities or bugs, like which might cause the system very harmful things like ransomware, like that. Okay, so initially it will check only if it is qualifies. That is, if found to be clean, then only the image will be pushed to the central repository, else it was be declined. Okay, next is highly available. Okay, so fully managed service with no need to set up or maintain infrastructure, highly reliable and available globally through AWS robust infrastructure. Like you have pushed your images to the AWS ECR, and the other person who is sitting in different region would likes to access the same thing. So if they have that pull ID, okay, I will show you that. So directly they can get that packaged application image. So wherever, it doesn't mean where they are located. So it's completely available to all the person throughout the world. Okay, and you need not to maintain individual infrastructure or the on-premises infrastructure for storing all these images. So the images is nothing but probably, if you people have already downloaded the PUBG, right? It's kind of an thing also. We can call it as a image. Okay, so we are just installing that APK, okay, application packaged thing. So inside that they have complete movement graphic things like guns, everything. You did not go and do any customized things by default. Only once after installing the application you got everything in that, right? Likewise the image is all. Okay, so they're going to compress everything into a smart file and they store it in the repository. That's all. Okay, and seamless integrations. So it is quite restricted to the AWS only. Okay, so work natively with AWS services like Elastic Container Service, Elastic Kubernetes Service, Fragment to orchestration and deployment. So it's completely linked or easily integrated with the developer code, like a code build or pipeline. So once after build, we can store your complete image or the application in the container too. Okay, next is a direct integration with CI/CD pipeline, like code pipeline, code build. We can just navigate from which service to which service seamlessly. Okay, so how AWS ECR works? How does it work? So we just understand what is it and why should we go with the ECR and how exactly it is all. And we let us try to understand how it is going to work. So initially we need to create the repository. Fine, repository is nothing but it's a kind of a folder. No mind. Okay, so you create either private or public. So if it is private means only it is accessible to you and having the other permissions, IAM permissions. Fine. So if it is public repository means anybody can able to access the image in the ECR, that is using the AWS Management Console or CLI. Okay, so next is pushing the images. So Docker images are built locally as well as pushed to ECR steps. Okay, so you need to build this your software or the application locally, and you can push the image to the cloud also, or else you can just link the CI/CD or pipeline using build code pipeline, and there also you can just integrate it with the ECR. Okay, these are the steps how we can able to push your image from your local system to the cloud. So initially we need to authenticate with the ECR using the AWS CLI, then tag the Docker image. That is whatever the things you we going to build, right? We need to tag or we need to provide a name to it. Okay, with the ECR repository URL, that is the name of the repository which we created. So this is how we can, by using this, we can push the image to the cloud. That is Elastic Container Registry. From there, if you want to install, how we going to install? So containers pull image from the ECR during the deployment. So you have all your infrastructure ready, but the only thing is left is you need to just deploy your application. On that case, you just pull this image and run that. That's all. Okay, so required authentication for private repository. So if it is public one, you don't need to have the permission or the credential things. But when it is private, you require an authentication thing. Okay, managing images. So ECR allows lifecycle policies to automatically delete, old unused images, optimizing storage cost. That is the one feature having in ECR, that is we can set up the policies also, lifetime or sorry life cycle policy. So we can just mention if the images are haven't been used for more than 90 days, that can be thinked as unused image, and we can delete it from the repository, so without any permission, so that we can optimize the cost as well as storage too. And we'll try to understand some advantages of it. Okay, so the advantages of AWS ECR, that is seamless AWS ecosystems. That is, we can only use this service inside the AWS environment only. When it comes to scalability, scales automatically accommodate large number of images as well as requests. No matter how many people are trying to install, they have the capacity to handle that all things. And also you can upload as many as images you want also. And it's a cost effective one, but I don't think so it's not more cost effective. Okay, so no upfront cost, like you only pay for the images store. Obviously, if we are storing the images of packaged application, means it would range from at least probably on 1 GB, it may goes up to 100 GB or 1 TB, like things. It's completely depend on the problem statement and how big the project is all. Okay, and the data transfer. So data transfer, obviously they will charge, but for storing the images, it's quite high. Okay, but it is quite cost effective when you compare this to on premises infrastructure. Okay, but if you are comparing with any other services like Docker Hub, they might vary. Okay, and security. So private repositories by default. So in Docker, it's quite if you are building the Docker image and pushing it by default, it will be public. But here, that is ECR will having the private repository by default. So image scanning features like identify vulnerability before deployment. So before deploying also, it will go for scanning the images, and it will check for any vulnerability. If vulnerabilities are found, you won't be able to download it. And easy to use, fully managed. You don't need to manage the underlying infrastructure. That is, you need not to bother about infrastructure, that is storage, network, like things. Okay, and simple command line interface for most operations. So we have very few commands, we can use it. That is, if you are good with Docker, that is Docker command, it's similar. There is not no much differences. Okay, and obviously, if you have some advantages in tools, we should have the disadvantages. That is AWS ecosystem lock-in. So you cannot use this service outside AWS. That is, it could be a hybrid or multi-cloud setup. Cost, although pay you as ECR charges for storing, I just mentioned, right? So for storing, it's quite higher. So if you are storing 2 GB of images for long time, so each and every time you need to pay the amount, no matter how long you're going to store it. And cost can add up for scaling large. That is, if you have the number of images are more, then the storage will be more. You will be charged for that also. Limited features compared to competitors. Like some competitors like Artifactory provide boarding artifact supports beyond Docker images such as Helm chat, Maven packages, many things, but here we don't. Okay, so manual setup for some features. So for permission things, we need to go and set up everything manually. So if the beginner or if the new if they are new to the cloud things, that is especially AWS is here, it might feel difficult. Okay, so when to use. So always, that is AWS only environment. So since it's a lock-in environment or the ecosystem, you cannot use it outside the things. So if your infrastructure is primarily hosted in AWS, you can go with this, or else no. Highly secure application. If you need a secure private registry with encryption, ECR is idle one. So if you have the like a banking applications, for example, not like that Docker won't provide encryption and more security. Even they do provide in their own way, but they here we will be going with the key management system. Even if something goes happen, the AWS will bear the hurdles. Okay, and we can integrate with the CI/CD pipelines also. That is why that is if you have thought of deploying your complete project in AWS environment means you could, without any doubt we can go for it. Okay, instead of paying multiple bills we can have it in one, and we can negotiate also. Okay, so comparison, that is ECR as well as Docker. So most commonly being used or most commonly known by the people. That's why I just try to compare this one. Okay. So public access, that is Docker Hub supports public image hosting with limitations. So they do have some limitation, but they help us to host your images publicly. That is, the anyone can able to access the things. While ECR is primarily focused on private repository, though the ECR having the public repositories, but they are more into the private one. Integration. So ECR integrates tightly with AWS, while Docker Hub is platform neutral. That is, if you are going with complete AWS resources or the services, we can go with ECR. But when it comes to Docker, so you can use it anywhere. That is, if you are going with GCP or Azure or on-premises deployment, there also we can have it. And cost. Docker Hub offers free trial with limits, while ECR will go and charge you the amount. Fine. So this is the reason. This is the reason why I always try to mention you, even at the beginning or middle or end of the sessions, always try to delete the resources whatever you have created for your hands-on or the practice things. Once you are done with all the works, and if you are more familiar to the services, you just go and delete the resources and cross verify it so that you can avoid the bill. Okay, and we'll try to move into the practical session and we'll try to understand it. Fine. Now we'll try to create the repository first, and thereon we'll go and build the image in our local system, and we'll try to push it. Okay. Oh, so once you log into the console, just navigate using with the help of global search bar. Either you type ECR or container. Okay. So ECR things, it will prompt you the suggestion. Okay, so Elastic Container Registry. It's a fully managed Docker container registry. Okay, just move here, and if you do not have any images previously created, it will show like this. If you have created with the option like this, it will prompt you. Okay, so we'll just come across the pricing first. Okay, so you pay only for the amount of data you stored in your public or private repository as well as transfer to the internet. So how much data we are trying to transfer through the internet, and how much data we are storing in the cloud. For that we will be paying it. Okay, so also enable private connections to ECR that is repositories using. You can have your own environment too. Fine. So we'll go and try to create the repository. So the name of the repository, or the name what you are providing here, is the name of the image. Okay, so I recommend people to use naming convention. Go with naming convention so that it will be more added beneficial for identification in futures. Okay, so fine, as of now we'll go with the demo one. Okay, and image tag mutability. So we have another one features here, image tag mutability. So for example, so the same code can be changed or the version can be upgraded, right? So each time we need to release the update. For that, we need to have the new packaged application or the new image to be deployed. So we have two things here. So either we can overwrite the existing image, or we can, that is version controlling system. So the mutable things means, so once we have uploaded the image means we can just rewrite that image by pushing the new one. Okay, so or else we can go with the immutable. So in this case, the version, that is the previous version will retain below to the newer version. So in the tree structure it will be like that. So as of now, either we can, since it's a demo one, we can just go with mutable. So if you are while practicing, make sure to opt for immutable things and try to push the same image without any modification also. So you should see two images to be uploaded. Okay. And the encryption, so we were speaking, right? The encryption settings for cannot be changed once the repository is changed. So we should select the algorithm here. So either we going with 256 or KMS key. So go for 256 AES, don't go for KMS, it as it is going to charge you. Okay. So additional things you can opt for scanning also for any vulnerabilities before pushing things into the repository if required. Okay. So now we have just created the repository and we have not done anything else. Okay, fine. So don't worry if you don't know anything about Docker commands also. Okay, just get into this repository, and here you can make out the button view push commands. So here we have all the commands ready, but we need to perform it on our local system. So before we go and perform this on our local system, okay, so we need to have like we need to have the Docker file which is already created. Okay, we'll go and try to see that. So fine. So this is the Docker file. Okay, so the Docker file is which help us to create the image. Okay, so assume that this is my project, or this is my application. I want this application to be deployed. I need to make this application as an image. So why I should make this application as an image? So once installing or once pulling that image, so person should whoever going to use that, so need not to install all the dependencies. So everything is being taken care by the my Docker image only. So whatever the software required to run this application, and the command to run this application, everything. So once if they run the command to run the image, okay, that's more than enough. Everything is being taken care by that only. So only thing we need to provide is infrastructure. Okay. So in this Docker file, I have written that is this is my kind of an operating system. You can have that is the Nginx. Okay, and here I am copying, that is from local system. I am copying and placing inside my container, that is virtual system. Okay, that is inside the Nginx. Okay, next, anyhow I have deploy, that is I have copied my application to my Nginx. How do I access outside? So we need to have some port number to be exposed, right? For that I have exposed port number 80. So public IP address followed by the port number 80. If I'm going with, I can able to access this application. And once after copying and exposing things, we need to run this application, right, or the file. So since it's an HTML, we don't require to have it, but still, if you have anything other than the HTML, like if you are going with Java or Python, you can just pass the command here, like nginx fng demo of like things I have written, right? Likewise, you can pass it also. So this is the file. With the help of this file, we'll go and try to create. So here I will be using the WSL, that is Windows System Linux, okay, distribution thing. So it's a kind of an virtual booting things, or it's also a kind of an image also I can say. So the WSL, just I pull it from the repository, and here I am using the Ubuntu operating system. So without any additional configuration or installing things. Okay, so fine. So now what we need to do, so we'll for the before sorry let me show you people. So once after creating the image or the repository, so you need to create the IAM role. So why do we require IAM role? So you need to access that ECR, that is Amazon Elastic Container Registry in other system. So for that you need to have the permission, the right permission. So we need to create the user having this permission. Okay. For that, just go to IAM. Okay. So hit on user. I have already created. I will show you people. So okay. So just hit on create user. So name the user you want, like ICR anything. Just hit next, which is already existing. Okay, hit next, and here attach policy directly. So search here for ECR. Okay, so here we have AWS ECR pull through cache. Okay, so just hit here. You can see what are the permission you have it. Okay, so if you encounter any errors during this, you can just create your own policies also. Okay, so just create the user, and once after creating, ensure or confirm things like creating the access key, that is the username as well as access key. Fine. Okay, so now we'll try to, sorry, okay, we'll try to move back here and view the commands. Okay, so just copy this. Once after you creating the IAM role, just type here AWS. For this, you need to have pre-requirements like in your local system, you should be having Python to be Python latest version to be installed. Along with that, AWS CLI version 2 to be installed in this. Okay, everything should be configured perfectly. Then only you can able to do hands-on. Okay, so if you are going with WSL, just always try to check the documentation like AWS CLI install. Okay, so here you have a Linux, right? Go here. So since I am using see here, they have already mentioned the prerequisites. Okay, um, okay, just go inside the first link or the root one. Okay, so here we have like AWS CLI install and update instruction. Below that we have a Linux, everything. Okay, just go and click here. It will prompt you to the Linux one. From here, since if you are going with Linux, you can go with the M package, or if you are going with Ubuntu, just go with the Snap package. Okay, so this is the commands. Okay, so if you are following the version 1 means it won't support. Okay, so it will keep prompting you the error. Okay, so don't go with the version 1, just go with the version 2 guide, and hit on the Linux, come here and try to navigate to snap package. Okay, so then you can easily install the AWS CLI. So once after installing that, you just provide AWS configure, hit enter. So it will prompt you for access key as well as secret key. So I have already provided it. I don't require to provide again and again. Okay. So once after the successful logging into your AWS account, just come back and just copy these. Before going and copying this also, you can directly build this also. Just I will try to build the image. So this command will help us to build the image by let me explain. So docker is the command and the build I am saying. So try to build the image. This is I am tagging to demo. The name of the image is demo dot represents the local file. So in this location it will go and check for the docker file. So here I have written, right? So whatever the things I have written inside my docker file, it will go and create the image with the help of that commands. Okay, once after hit enter. Okay, so it should be prompt you like this. So the image is successfully created now. Okay, so once after image is successful creation, you need to tag your image. So tagging means we just created in the local environment like demo. So we need to tag this demo to my AWS account. So how will you tag? They have already provided the command. So that is docker tag demo is your name of the image, and this is the version that is latest, or you can provide 1.0.0 like also. And this is the number that is associated with this AWS account, and this is default command by the things, and we are tagging these two. That is, we are tagging this image to this one. Okay, this is the URL or URI of your repository. Okay, so we'll hit enter, and now the image is been tagged. Okay, now since I am using Ubuntu, I was getting the error. Let me show you that error also. So now I need to log into my, that is I need to take access to my Docker like a ECR repository. Okay, for that probably it will prompt me error. Hit enter. So you should see login succeed. Okay, now login is succeed. That is, I got access to my repository since it was private. I have provided the login credential here. Okay, so my login credential is that is AWS IAM thing. Okay, now I need to push. So we have all instructed commands. So this command is used to log into your ECR, that is Elastic Container Registry. Okay, so since it's a private one, they have we need to log in through the IAM role. Okay, and once after that we will be building the image. After that we need to tag that image to my account ID, then only I can able to push to that respective account which is tagged. Okay, to tag to push the image which is created, so we will be using this command. Okay, fine. So just I will be providing supervisor power and hit enter. Okay, now I can successfully able to push my image into central repository, that is private one. Okay, so once after push is completed, just navigate back to here, just close this one, refresh it, see here. So automatically we got our image in the central repository. So how do I use this for further usage? So just use docker pull command followed by the URI. Okay, just copy this and paste it in precedent to uh, sudo docker pull. So this is the command. Okay, use this command, which will pull the image from central repository, or the remote repository your system, that is operating if you are going with Ubuntu or Windows, that after that you will run the image. Okay, for Docker tutorial things, just go ahead and watch something. Fine, so this is all about Docker, so that is for not Docker, so elastic container registry. This is how it is going to work. So we use this ECR to store our images. Fine. So the demo is kind of an application. Assume that it's an e-commerce application means. So we will be seeing the versions, or we will keep monitoring the different UI things, right? Day to day thing. So that is how the image, the rest of the image will be like this. Since I have taken the mutable things, even if I pushed again, so automatically it will going to override this image. If I have chosen for immutable things, then the another version will be seen here. Okay. So thank you all for watching this tutorial. If you have any queries, you can just drop it down and we'll make a video on it. Okay. Thank you.